No complaining at school. School is a place of love and happy. I almost got a straight face. By the way, for those of you at home, February is spelled correctly. We just blew some minds by realizing that's how you actually spell that word. It's just a weird word. We do have SEL today during Best, which we were talking about. Definitely not complaining about because SEL is the funnest. And then we have a quiz tomorrow, which is going to cover, it's like 15 questions. It's going to cover all our mythology bits. You get to use the handouts as long as you've not eaten them because I know they're blueberry flavored. And then also, if you are wanting to redo speech or you are an absent kid, we're going to give you a chance to do that tomorrow too. But now, let's talk about issues with babies. I'm going to go through the stuff from yesterday, speedy version, then I'm going to go through the answers on blue sheet in case you don't have those. Then we're going to get to our new story today with all of our issues. So, speedy version, the first thing in Greek mythology was? Chaos, which looks like? Apparently someone doesn't like blueberries. And then chaos splits to form the first two gods, which are? There you go. Oh, you guys kind of almost said it correctly. Gaia or Gaia, also known as Mother Earth. Uranus is Father Sky. And then they decide to have their first babies. Wait, how do we have babies?
Well, not with you.
Yeah, don't. Feels judgy, but okay. And then Gaia and Uranus decide to have their first wiggle finger babies and the first
50-headed monsters.
phrases you never thought you'd hear at school. And so their first babies are? There you go. How many are there?
100. Hands. 300.
3. How many total heads?
50.
150.
That was a scary
Multiple.
math. Good job. 3 times 50 is not just random numbers. Ooh, what gender are they?
Boys. Male.
They're all boys at this point. What is the issue with them?
Ugly.
They're uggos. So how does Uranus solve the uggo issue?
He looks so
Sloppy.
At first he looks away, and then that doesn't work out. So then what does he do with them? Puts them into the pit, just like home. And then we get to our second wiggle finger babies, which are completely different. And the second race of babies are?
Cyclops.
How many are there?
3.
How many total eyeballs?
3.
Nicely done. What gender are they?
Male.
Again, boys. And they don't make him go all pukey, which is good, but they have another issue. And their other issue is they go a little bit on the stabby side. So what does he do with them?
Throws them in the
Also
pit.
throws them into a hole, which you do with babies. And then we get to our final set of babies, and they are known as the
Titans.
These are the Titans. How many of them are there?
12.
How many of them are boys?
6.
How many of them are girls?
6.
Good math on that one. And then from there we have size-wise of the 3 sets of babies, which ones are biggest? And the second biggest?
Cyclops.
Third biggest?
Olympians.
Ooh, which are bigger, Titans or Olympians?
Titans.
They're the same.
Yeah, they're the same size. They're the same thing. Titans and Olympians, it's like saying which are bigger, humans or people. They're the same thing. We're almost done ignoring you, wiggle fingers. And then at this point, the Titans decide that they want to build a hangout, a clubhouse. And what do they call their clubhouse?
Females. Clubhouse.
And how many thrones?
12.
Nicely done. That's where our 12 thrones come in. Who is it that the male Titans take as their wives? Nicely done. That's where all the sisters come in. And then Mother Earth is still And then, because why do they have to marry their sisters?
Because no one else.
More wiggle finger grandbabies. But Mother Earth is still unhappy. And why is she unhappy?
Her children are
Ugly babies.
Because ugly babies. So how does she solve the missing ugly baby issue?
She kills the
She can't do it, so she invents murder. And who does she hire?
Cronus.
Done. Cronus. And when does he do it?
Nighttime.
It feels like the worst game of Clue. What weapon does he use? What metal is it made out of?
Plastic.
Adamantium.
Something
Nicely done.
adamantium.
Adamantium. And then, did we get to the gift that Uranus gives to him right before he disappears?
Yes.
Yes.
And so he jumps up, really slow, laggy computer, and then slow, laggy. Ooh, every time he chases after Uranus and chops into him, what happens?
More things.
So if you look on the family tree, you're going to see Aphrodite is like this random stick that comes off. That's why, is because on one of the stories is that she is born from these chunks that come down. One of those chunks forms her. Some of the chunks form monsters and some of the chunks do other things, but she becomes one of those chunks and forms a god. Before Ernest disappears, he gives Cronus the gift. And what gift is it?
A curse.
That says,
You're
On
gonna
my
die.
bloodlines on the
and it's
chair.
important to know he does not specify boys. Ernest is equal opportunity with genders. He says it could be either gender, boy or girl, that overthrows you.
Oh, nice.
And now Cronus is the new king of all the gods, and that's where we stopped. What's up?
So like when you like were going through like the people,
Uh-huh.
they're like first
Uh-huh.
finger babies,
Uh-huh.
and then so the like big 50-headed guys
Uh-huh.
and the 100-armed guys, they didn't have 100 arms. Are they just like really tiny?
No, they're behind their heads. They like to relax and they kick back with their hands behind their heads the whole time.
And then the other 50 like heads, because there were only like 6 of them.
Well, because they lined up in a row. Because, I mean, if not, that'd be ridiculous. What would you do with so many hands? Come on now.
Yeah.
So at this point, Cronus is the new king of all the gods. And what was the whole point of him overthrowing Ernest?
Get your brother.
To free the brothers that are trapped down in the pit. And Mother Earth reminds me of that. She's like, hey, the whole point of you becoming new king of all the gods was to free your brothers who were trapped down in the pit. And he was like, oh, I forgot about my brothers. That's great. I get to be king of the gods and I get older brothers? Best day ever. He goes, where are these older brothers? And she describes the pit of Tartarus. In fact, there's this big cave you have to go running down. And there's these giant doors. And you throw up in the giant doors. And you're going to walk in there and free them. Like, I don't know, throw down a string and they'll climb up it. And he's like, done. Sounds like a great deal. And off he goes. Goes down the whole thing. Finds the giant doors. Throws open the giant doors and starts walking into this big open room, the pit of Tartarus. He's like, my name is Cronus, and I'm the new king of all the gods. Ooh, there's a pit over there. So I'm here to free all... And he looks over the edge of the pit. All of you from... Holy crikey, what are those things? And he looks into the pit and sees the big, ugly monsters. He's like, okay. Okay. And I am here to... Nope, can't do it. What are those? And Mother Earth was like, those are your brothers. And he was like, you should have showed me a picture because those are horrifying. And I can't let those come up on Earth because we're just going to be vomiting on each other nonstop. Those things are awful. And the monster's like, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I'm sorry it makes you sad, but just looking at you makes me inside of me come on the outside. So I have a new deal. The new deal is they stay in the pit and I close the doors, and I go back up and become king of all the gods. She's like, you were supposed to. He's like, shh, can't hear you. And he leaves, closes the door, and leaves the big ugly monsters and the Cyclops in the pit, and refuses to release them. Mother Earth is furious. The whole point in overthrowing Ernest was to free them. Cronus refuses to free them, and she's like, if I had hands, and he's like, but you don't, and leaves them there. And at this point, did you guys have any questions on this part before we move on to make sure? I think I've covered all of them. I want to make sure. Hold.
What's 11?
What is 11? What is Cronus' greatest fear?
He's gonna get overthrown.
By?
His children.
There you go. Easy stuff. So my goal is with story today, we're going to get down to around the 19 to 20 area. Maybe further, depending on how well the story goes today. So at this point, Cronus is now the new king of all the gods. One of the first things he decides to do is get himself a squad, a bunch of guys that he gets to hang out with that become like the rulers with him and become like the new top people. And so there's 3 brothers he brings in to hang out with him. The first is a guy by the name of Prometheus. Prometheus has a superpower. He's in turn out that he is
Smart.
the smartest Titan to ever exist. He was super duper smart. The reason he was smart is he could see the future. Basically what Prometheus means in Greek, pro means forward or ahead, and then methea means to think. And it was thought that he could see into the future. Sort of like the little superheroes from Marvel. He goes, nah, 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 your pencil's gonna break. And you're like, what? And he's like, ha ha ha. And so he could look into the future to see these things. His other Prometheus. And so the next guy that he hangs out with is Prometheus' twin brother, a guy by the name of Epimetheus. And Epimetheus was the exact opposite of Prometheus. So his superpower is
Dumbness.
super dumb. Now, in mythology, it wasn't that he was dumb, it was that he could not see the future. Epi means afterthought. So forward thinking, after thinking. And if your thought is, oh, Mr. Robiak, I can't see the future, does that make me dumb? The answer is no. You guys are dumb for completely other reasons. And plus, are you trying to break a pencil and failing? That was so. You guys can see the future, you just don't realize you can see the future. And there is an easy experiment I can have you do to prove to you that you can see the future. Here's how it works. When you go home today, go to your kitchen and you're going to find this thing called a stove. Go to the stove and you're going to turn this little cranky knobby thing on, and it's going to make one of these rings on the top of it get really red. When it gets really red, take your right hand, slap it on top. Wait 3 to 4 seconds, pull your hand back off. It's going to have like a fun little design on there. Now you're going to take your left hand and you're going to slap that on there. At some point before your left hand hits, there is a chance your brain is going to go, oh God, no! Because you don't want to put your hand on it. That's called seeing the future. You can tell what's going to happen. For some of you, your future telling is so strong, your right hand won't even make contact because you're going to go, oh. That's called seeing the future. Some of you, your future telling is so strong, right now you're going, I'm not going to do that at all. That's seeing the future. Epimetheus didn't have that ability. For Epimetheus, his game was, oh God, ooh, oh, what, ooh, and it would just be over and over and over again, which made him super entertaining at parties, but did not really help his I-Learn scores. The third brother was a guy by the name of Atlas, who was considered their older brother. And Atlas also has a special ability. He's not super smart, he's not super dumb, and it's not the 3 little bears. He's not super in the middle. He was super strong. Turns out he is the strongest Titan to ever exist. He was sort of their version of Hulk. He just ran around yelling, Atlas, smash! It would go around just like crushing Coke cans in his bare hands and stuff like that. It was great. Hey, it's a random person. Welcome, random person. It's so embarrassing. You got attacked by a puppy. Tore up your pants. Mia! That's some excitement. And so these are the 3 people that end up hanging out with Cronus and becoming part of his squad. And they hang out all the time. Go in.
I remember I burnt my hand on a doorknob.
So at this point, Cronus decides that he wants to create a... Did I cut you off? That's so... Oh, we'll come back to the connection. Don't slink and die. That's awful. So at this point, Cronus decides that he wants to create a race of tiny gods. Turns out Cronus has an anger issue. And sometimes when he gets grumpy, he tended to lash out and punch other gods. That's not good as a leader. It tends to make other people mad at you. So talking to Prometheus one day, he's like, when I get really mad, I want to grab other gods and just like, and like punch them. And Prometheus goes, yeah, that's bad. He goes, why don't we create for you a race of really tiny gods that you can just squish and smash whenever you want? And he's like, oh, you can do that? And Prometheus is like, I think I can. So Prometheus comes down to Earth and decides that he is going to create a race of little tiny gods that can be squished whenever you want. And so he decides to use 2 ingredients to create these humans. One, he uses a pile of dirt, and then he takes some water and mixes them together. And when you mix dirt and water together, you get
Sand.
mud.
Human.
That's kind of interesting. And so he mixes the dirt and water together and squishes out these little mud people. And from these little mud people, he sprinkles on magic dust. Sprinkle, sprinkle. And they come to life like little Pinocchios. I'm a real boy. And they dance around. And he creates this first race of humans. First race of humans are all boys. We don't create women yet. We just do boys, and that is it. And then whenever Cronus gets unhappy, he would come down to Earth, find a couple of the humans, and just smoosh them, or step on them, and squish them, and it brought him lots and lots of joy. And Prometheus is like, this way you don't have to go and attack the other gods, you can come down to Earth and attack them. During this reign, it was considered the golden age of mankind. Even though Cronus would come down and smash them on occasion, it was permanently summertime. Winter had not been invented yet, so it was summer nonstop. Women had not been invented yet, so we did not have things like drama or anything along those lines. We did have stuff like punching each other in war, but boys liked that, so that wasn't much of an issue. And so it was considered overall a pretty good time for this race of humans. They were pretty happy. And things continued like this for a long time. Until one day, Rhea comes and talks to Cronus. And she tells him, I have good news. That good news being, she's pregnant. Well, the problem is, Cronus never told anyone about the curse because Ernest cursed him, and he decided it was not a good idea to go around telling other gods, there's a curse on me of my children overthrowing me. So he decided to keep it a secret. He also kept it a secret from his wife, which comes back to bite him in the tuchus when he realizes that now Mrs. Him is pregnant with his child. And he's like, oh, that's not going to be so good. Because when baby's born, baby's going to try to overthrow him. So he realizes he's going to have to solve this having a baby that wants to kill you issue. So when the baby's born, he decides that we're going to have to make this baby disappear. And the little baby that comes out is a baby by the name of Hestia. Now, if you know a baby is going to overthrow you, what is your first solution?
Eat
Eat
it.
it.
No. You guys don't eat babies.
No, we
Yeah.
do.
Kill it.
Kill it. That's his first thought also. Stab the baby. Why does stabbing baby not work?
Immortal baby.
Immortal baby. So it comes out that there's another idea he has. So where else could you put a baby if you don't want it to overthrow you?
Tartarus.
In the pit of Tartarus. He's like, oh, well, I can just take the baby and chuck it into the pit of Tartarus. Problem is, one, his wife might frown on that, you know, women. And so there's a chance that she's going to go down there and try to bring the baby back. Two, Mother Earth is still a little on the grumpy side, so she may find a way to help the baby escape. So he doesn't like the idea of this baby being someplace where it could escape on its own. So here's where he comes up with a better idea on how to trap this baby so it can't get free. And yes, you guys see where this is going. His plan is
Shoot it with adamantium bullets.
to eat the baby. The problem is, how do you eat a baby without letting your wife know that you're planning on eating her baby? Because again, women tend to get grumpy when you eat their babies. So he has to get creative on this one. So when baby Hestia is born, and Rhea comes in and she's like, look, hon, it's our first baby child. Isn't it adorable? And he's like, it's going to try and kill me someday. Oh, sure, okay, whatever. And he takes the little baby and he's holding it in his hand, and Rhea's giving him that loving mother look. It's so cute. And he's holding on to the baby going, how am I going to get this baby into my tummy right there? And then it comes to him and he has an idea. He's like, oh, he's doing like a little baby jiggle. And he's like, ooh, it has that new baby smell. It smells like baby powder and flowers. It's so kind of tickles the, it kind of makes you, and swallows the baby. Rhea freaks out. She's like, did you just snort the baby? He's like, well, I was trying to get the baby smell. She's like, but then the baby. He's like, well, it got caught in my throat. You didn't want me to choke, did you? And she goes, but you, baby gone. And he eats the baby. Rhea freaks out. Again, you know, women. And Cronus is like, done. I have now eaten this baby. Problem solved. And it is. Until a couple years later, when Rhea comes up again. And she's like, hey, we have another baby. And he was like, oh, yay. And she brings in little baby Hera. This time when she brings in little baby Hera, she's like, hey, do not snort this baby. Phrases you never thought you'd hear in English. Do not snort this baby. And she's like, I won't snort the baby. And she hands the baby over to him, and she's giving him much more of an eagle eye this time to make sure he doesn't snort the baby. And he's holding on to the baby, and he's like, how am I going to get this baby into my tummy with her watching me? And he's doing the baby jiggle walk. I don't know if you guys ever hold babies, but you try to make the baby sleep like, baby jiggle walk, baby jiggle walk. And he's doing baby jiggle walk back and forth while she's watching him. And he's doing baby jiggle walk backwards, and then his feet sort of catch each other. He's like, oh, ah, ah, and the baby's like, no, I got it. And swallows the baby and eats the second baby. And Rhea's like, did you just snort? He's like, I didn't snort that baby. She's like, but you still ate. He continues this process through 3 more babies and eventually doesn't even put effort into it. By the time we get to baby number 5, which is little baby Poseidon, and she's like, hey, it's a baby, don't eat it. You already ate it. And he just goes ahead and eats it. At this point, Rhea realizes it's probably not an accident that he keeps eating the babies. 1 baby you can accidentally eat. 2 babies is a coincidence. 5 babies is an addiction. And so she's like, all right, we're going to have a problem that we're going to have to help you with. And I'm not sure there's like a Babies Anonymous to go to. So she decides to go get advice. So she goes to her mom to get advice. And who is her mom?
Mom Earth.
Mother Earth. And so when she's pregnant with baby number 6, a baby by the name of Zeus, she goes down to talk to Mother Earth. And she goes, hey, Mom, I'm having some relationship issues. And Mother Earth was like, oh, you want to kill your husband? She's like, what? No. She's like, oh, that's what I had. She was like, well, what's your problem? She goes, my husband keeps eating my babies. She's like, yep, I think I saw that on a TV show once. She's like, all right, so here's what you do. Next time you give birth to this upcoming baby, bring the baby down to me, and I will raise the baby for you. And then that way he can't eat it, and I'll raise it down here where it's safe. And she goes, oh, that's a good... No, here's the problem, Mom. I know you didn't have this thing, but when I get pregnant, my belly goes all kablorp. And then when I give birth, it goes kablip. And there's a good chance he's going to notice the kablorp kablip thing. So how do I disguise that? And Mother Earth goes, oh yeah, that's a good point. Okay, here's what you do. Bring the baby to me. I'll still raise the baby. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a rock. And then you're just going to paint a smiley face on the rock and then put like baby clothes on it, and you'll give that to your husband. And Rhea goes, you want me to give my husband a rock, and you think he's going to think that's a baby and eat it. And Mother Earth goes, yeah. Rhea goes, that's not going to work. Mother Earth goes, your husband's a guy, right? She goes, uh-huh. Mother Earth goes, oh yeah, it'll work. She goes, okay. So baby Zeus is born. She brings baby Zeus down to Mother Earth and hands him over. Mother Earth gives her a rock. So Rhea takes the little baby rock, puts a little smiley face on it, puts a little diaper on it, wraps it around in a little blanket, says, hello, Asher. And from there, takes the baby up to Cronus, sitting up in Mount Olympus. You can go ahead and just put it right over there. You're good, Asher. And brings the baby up to Mount Olympus. As she walks into Cronus, she's like, hey, hon, baby number 6, try not to eat this one. And Cronus is just sitting there eating popcorn. He's like, popcorn, 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 baby, popcorn. What? She's like, oh, no, you ate my baby. No. And Cronus is like, stupid woman, I ate your baby. And they both got away with it, thinking they're scot-free. Cronus is happy he ate a baby. Rhea is happy she saved a baby. Zeus is happy he's not dead. So it seems to be a win-win situation all around. Zeus ends up growing up down on Earth. Silly.
So, never mind.
Are you trying to apply logic? Was it starting to hurt your head? Yeah, it's going to get worse. Hi, Dylan, what's up?
Why did they keep doing wiggle fingers if he didn't want to have kids?
Because his wife did, and it's kind of hard to say I don't want to have children because they're going to overthrow me, so I have to keep eating them. So it is easier to eat the babies than have a conversation with his wife, because women are scary. Bowen!
When Cronus snorted his first baby, did he see various neon colors?
Aw, look at me learning not to call on you. Isn't that silly of me? All right, and then we have just enough to get slightly farther. So at this point, Cronus is growing up down on Earth, and he grows up to about, depending on the stories, late teenager, early 20s, thinking he is an only child being raised by his, roughly year-wise. I understand it's going to hurt your head on that one too.
You said Cronus.
Did I say Cronus? Zeus. It's like Cronus, but younger. Zeus is growing up to about his late teens, early 20s, thinking he's an only child and just has his grandmother and mother raising him, and he has no siblings. Till one day, they have an awkward dinner conversation where Zeus is complaining about the fact that he doesn't know who his father is and the fact that he has no siblings and he's been by his own all this time, when Mother Earth accidentally lets it drop. No, you have siblings. They're hanging out with your father. He goes, what? I have a father? Wait, I have siblings? Wait, why have you? He goes, can I go see them? She goes, no, because your father ate them. He goes, I'm sorry, what was that? You said I have a father and my dad ate my brothers and sisters. And they're like, yeah, and your dad is king of all the gods. He's like, whoa, worst dinner ever. He's like, I found out that I have siblings, I have a father, and he's king of all the gods. Zeus declares he is going to go up to Mount Olympus and overthrow Cronus and fight him. And he decides that is the next step we're going to get to, which is Zeus fighting Cronus. But that'll be for next week. And that is where we stop now that we have found out that baby eating is an addiction that we have to fight.